All right. No, we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, Suzanne, you want to make the introduction?
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Suzanne, founder of Stories That Matter community.
And hi, I'm Lillian, the founder of Women of Courage Asia, and we are your host for the first episode of Courage Under Fire. For those of you watching Women of Courage Asia Facebook Live, YouTube channel, as well as Stories That Matter Facebook Live and Zoom, a very warm welcome to you.
Now, Courage Under Fire is a 5-episode lunchtime panel discussion series. And we're running it on the third Wednesdays of each month from October this year to February 2021. So what you'll get to learn are the struggles that women face in their daily work, their families, their personal lives, and also the possibilities to overcome their struggles. And today we'll be looking at relationship issues in a marriage, which most of the time are not publicly discussed.
Yes, and we'll also discuss the support system available to these women and what they can do on their own to, cope better with these challenges and find their new sense of purpose in life. So, what's the story about behind Courage Under Fire, Suzanne?
Well, Lillian, we find that a lot of women out there playing many roles in society, doing their very best to contribute in many different ways. But the thing is that some of them have actually been silently suffering from a lot of issues like unhappy relationships, unreasonable work demands, and having to really cope with the stress of multitasking between their family and their work. And as a result, they don't give themselves enough space to live life on their own terms. And they don't give themselves enough energy to rest and recharge. And this becomes, in the long run, very damaging to their physical, their mental, and even the emotional well being. So what we want to do is we want to create this series to help them. We want to create this series to address all these issues using storytelling and conversations and women who have been on fire in this kind of circumstances and who chose to take the courage to step out of the limiting beliefs that have stopped them from overcoming the struggles and then getting the strength to rewrite the future. Now, let's share with you a little bit about the two organizers behind Courage Under Fire.
Yes, and Women of Courage Asia is a self-funded women empowerment community. We started at almost 2 years ago, as a ground-up initiative. We have been reaching out to women from all walks of life through a monthly empowerment meeting every last Tuesday of the month, and by providing a safe and supportive environment for our members to be inspired and supported in their personal growth and development, especially building their mental and emotional resilience. Now, they are encouraged to step out of their comfort zone, share their stories of courage, expertise, and experience in their personal or professional lives at this monthly empowerment meeting. Now, as they do that, they are going through a process of healing, personal breakthrough, and growth. Now, we have been inspiring women, and empowering women to live a life of class, an acrostic for our core values, which is to live a life of courage, love, authenticity, stewardship, and significance. Now, above and beyond the monthly empowerment meetings, we are also providing mentoring and encourage our members to contribute back to the society through volunteering. So we bond and serve together in institutions such as the Singapore Girls' Home and upcoming the Women's Prison, where we bring together our experiences and expertise, to develop programs that focus on personal growth and development, such as mindset, leadership, relationship, and communication. So, through Women of Courage Asia, many women are experiencing their personal breakthrough and rediscovering their purpose and passion in life. And we are happy to champion Courage Under Fire together with Stories That Matter community, not just because the event echoes our mission to empower women, but also a way to support our community leaders in the pursuit of their dreams. Yes, Suzanne is also one of our community leaders with Women of Courage Asia, and we are so proud of her personal growth, and her recent launch of the Stories That Matter community. So, Suzanne, tell us more.
Thanks a lot, Lillian, for the compliment. Yes, in fact, there are actually two groups of people who have in helping me to build up stories like better community. Women of Courage Asia have given me the confidence and the moral support to push this dream that I have forward. And at the same time, my business partner and my colleagues in the company and the have given me the resources and creative ideas to shape this community into one where members get to learn so much about video storytelling through our Facebook live shows that we have created and launched from June to August this year, as well as our online Zoom webinars called Video Creation Club, where a lot of people get to learn about how to script, shoot, and edit their own personal video stories. And this is all actually part of our dream of building a video storytelling network where everybody gets to collaborate with one another to share the real stories, the real aspirations to transform lives. And I'm so glad that our collaboration with Women of Courage Asia is the first step of moving towards this dream.
Yes. Thank you, Suzanne. I'm so proud of you. Now, today's topic is rebuilding happiness from unfulfilling relationship. The focus is on women who have suffered from emotional pain in their relationship and marriages. So the aim of the topic is to discuss what we can do as women to overcome the pain so that we can move on to regain confidence and rebuild happiness that we deserve to have. Right. Now, if you have any questions popping up during the events, right, do feel free to drop them in the Facebook comments in Women of Courage Asia Facebook page or YouTube channel, as well as the Zoom chat box in Stories That Matter Zoom or Stories That Matter Facebook group. Okay, we will pick a few questions to answer on the spot now during the Q&A session. Right. For those questions that are not being addressed in the show, we will provide the answers at the Women of Courage Asia Facebook page, as well as the Story That Matter Facebook community group. Okay, so Suzanne, what is the program for today?
Yes, Lilian, now for today's program, we're going to start with our panelists sharing their stories on how they've overcome the struggles and emotional pain over a failed marriage. And then we'll continue with a panel discussion where we will get them to share their insights, and we'll also invite a counseling psychologist to give advice. And at the same time, after that, we will have a Q&A session where we will invite all the audience from our various social media platforms to come forward to let us have questions. And finally, we'll invite the panelists to share their reflections on what they have gotten, what they have learned from today's session, and to leave with us their motivating quotes.
All right. Now, let us time for the introducing the panelists. Now, all four panelists today are community leaders and members with Women of Courage Asia. Now, let me first introduce our three speaker panelists. First of all, we have Carol Gockel. Now, she is a confidence life coach who helps women develop the tools and confidence to take action, to achieve emotional, spiritual, and financial success. She is a board council member of People Stories Foundation and has hosted Beyond 2020 Dialogue in Singapore to celebrate the United Nations 75th anniversary. Welcome, Carol. Welcome on board.
Thank you, Lilian and Suzanne. I'm really pleased to be here. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Carol Gawker. Hope your afternoon has been good.
Right. And next, I'm going to bring on Jocelyn Ong. Jocelyn is an etiquette trainer, author, and a mother of 3 children. She wants to help women regain their self-confidence with her knowledge in dressing and deportment so that they can make a difference in their sphere of influence. Now, before entering the space of etiquette training, she has been pursuing her passion in preschool education. Welcome on board, Jocelyn. Hi.
Hi, good afternoon, Lilian, Suzanne, and everybody who is tuning in. Thank you for having me on the show. Looking forward to sharing.
All right. Next, we have Anne Nee. Anne is an investor and a mother of a beautiful daughter. Prior to entering the investment field, she was a professional makeup artist who has worked for clients like Universal Studios Singapore and Chanel. Now, this gutsy young woman even ran her own business at 18 back in her own country of Vietnam. Welcome on board, Anne. Hello. Hi, you're muted. Then unmute yourself.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Hi. Right. And last but not least, we have one more special guest panelist today, and that is Beverly Lin. Now, she is a private counseling psychologist. Beverly has worked with adults struggling with family, work, and relationship problems. Now, she is also a private teacher and trainer in problem solving and conflict resolution for troubled adolescents. Now, before that, she has acquired 8 years of experience in the social and mental health issues and services. Welcome on board, Beverly.
Thank
Hello.
you.
Hi. All right, Suzanne, back to you.
Right. You. Okay. So now is the next segment that we're going into, and that is storytelling. So as we all know that behind every story, there are deep lessons to learn. And what's going to happen is we're going to invite the three ladies to share their zero to hero journeys on how they have overcome the struggles to be who they are today. And first of all, let us join our hands to welcome the first speaker for this segment, and she is Carol Gopal. Carol.
Sarah, welcome.
Hi. Thank you, everybody. In case you are wondering why is this Chinese local Singaporean having a foreign-sounding surname, Gokul is actually my married name. My husband is German. And as Lilian mentioned earlier, I'm a confidence coach, author, speaker, and change maker. I help women own their confidence so that they can rise to become who they want to be. The thing is, growing up in a traditional Chinese family, I wasn't specifically encouraged to be more. I was told to take care of my looks, so I will be deemed good wife material to my future husband's family. I should only speak when I'm spoken to, and that my identity as a woman will be determined by how well I marry. And the message stuck on my mind was if I'm not pretty, then I'm unworthy and unwanted. I was that awkwardly tall, skinny, and tense girl that didn't fit in. I wasn't academically smart either. And at age 15, going through puberty, my face was covered in painful acne. So almost overnight, my looks were gone, and confidence went down to zero. I felt inferior and desperate to be accepted and loved. I sought validation externally, which eventually I ended up marrying the first person who made me feel visible and wanted. What happened next was 13 years of psychological and emotional abuse. I had contemplated suicide, but didn't have the guts to get through with it. I suffered post-traumatic stress and was also left penniless. If not for a girlfriend and a life coach for helping me with my first breakthrough, I wouldn't be here today doing what I do. But today, 12 years on, I was glad I didn't kill myself because I found myself. I've met my soulmate, who is my equal. I have two beautiful children. And because of what happened, I was able to transform that experience in what I do as a coach, helping women find their confidence to look good, feel good, to heal, and to be the goal that they're born to be.
Suzanne?
Justine, can you say something so that we can
Okay,
hear?
yes. Now I can hear you. I couldn't hear you earlier. All right, sorry about that.
Very good.
Okay, so for myself, at a very young age, from a very young age, I had this dream. It's almost like a mission that I had for myself, which was to get married really early. Yeah. So from a very young age, even like a teenager, I've always wished that I could meet the right person and then get married by 25 and by 28 have two children. So that was really like a fixation that I had. So what happened was I was so focused that yes, I did meet my boyfriend at 20 and I did get married the year I would turn 26. And so I had two young kids by 28. Now, what happened was a period um, of dating, 6 years of dating, followed by marriage. And during that period, there were a lot of issues that cropped up actually as early as dating. But because I was so fixated on my goal of getting married, I chose to ignore a lot of the red flags. And a lot of those issues were actually not resolved going into marriage. So what happened was it all hit after years of trying to work on it and meeting brick walls after brick walls, when I really realized that it can't go on anymore without breaking me emotionally and physically. There was a period where it got so bad that, and because I was keeping it all in, I didn't tell anybody. Yes, it was a period where I actually went into depression. And similar to what Carol said, I couldn't take the emotional aspect and breakdown. So after 25 years of being together, when I finally took the courage to step out, so here I need to, a disclaimer. I believe in marriage, and I believe that marriage is a sacred vow and promise, which should be worked on, and we should try to save it as far as I can, or we can. But when I really finally realized that that it's not going to work, it took me a lot of courage to walk out of it. And also at that period was when I walked out of the relationship, the business that we built together. So that was the crossroad of my life, where everything was just seemingly deep, dark bottom. But I've managed to overcome it. Yes. Thank you.
And both just
And
And can you hear us?
Yes, now I
Okay. All right. You ready to go?
yeah,
Share us your story.
yeah. Hi everybody. So I'm Anne. My Vietnamese name is Nhi. I come from a broken family. My parents divorced when I was 2 years ago. So it's same like the rest of Asian women born with the race and teaching me to be a family woman, right? At a certain age, you have to marry and have kids. And because I growing up in a broken family, I always dream to have my own family, which is have my own husband and then my kid. And I don't believe in divorce. Like I never believe in divorce, and I believe everything in life fixed. And I believe marriage is a way of like grow together and success in life together. And then yeah, as I moved to Singapore after I know my partner, and then we the same like we marry and we have kids. And but then also exactly like the rest of most of women out there, like we live in silence. I live in silence, and I believe like, okay, I can work things out, but it's not. So it's go through few time of heartbroken, of disappointment and red flag in relationship, and it takes a lot of courage and also support and learning through my own experience and my journey to make a decision to walk away from the marriage and have to rebuild my belief system. Here I want to make sure again one more time that I believe in relationship, I believe in love. I still believe there's a lot of good men outside there take a woman. For example, my mentor, all my mentor is an amazing man. By the way, my mentor have an opportunity to watch this, thank for on that, because they give me belief that marry and have kids is the best thing happen in life, right? And yeah, after go through that breakthrough on the heartbroken, feel down, and few time I feel like I'm not worth it. Even my parents leave me, and then now my partner leave me. I'm just self worth is gone. Like I don't even feel like why do I still appear in this life for what a reason? And I've been all the way from Vietnam to here. What exactly the purpose of that? And when I look at my daughter, my little girl that I've been give birth to, and I just see so much hope and future right there. I realize that, oh my God, I bring this human to the world, and I have to have a responsibility to give her a life. I can't promise I will give her a best life, but I can provide her a life enough to survive. And important, I have to be strong. I have to be prove myself, to individually love myself, invest in myself, believe in myself, and show her how woman's supposed to be. And yeah, so after go through the hard time in the middle of COVID, finally today I'm here, sit down and have enough courage to give back this message to another woman outside there. Maybe they need my message that, what exactly your self-worth is and how to rebuild yourself, love yourself again, and important, find yourself in again, to live your life exactly how you want it to supposed to be.
Thank you so much, ladies, for sharing your stories. So that is really heartwarming and a lot of courage and vulnerability to share all that. So next up, we are going to proceed with the the panelist discussion. All right. So we have Suzanne. What is the first question that we have for the panelists?
Yes, so this is a question that we're going to address to all the speaker panelists, Carol, Anne, and Jocelyn. And when I raise this question, Carol, would you like to start first?
Okay. Suzanne, sorry, if you can repeat your questions earlier because the sound was gone for a
Can
bit.
you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you loud and clear right now.
Okay.
Yes. I can't hear you now. I think you're muted.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes. There's a little bit of echo in the background.
Okay, can you all hear me loud and clear?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, the question that Suzanne was asking earlier was, for women who are in a relationship or marriage, what are the red flags to look out for?
Okay, well, for me, my personal experience would be, the love bombs. Yeah, it's like the sudden attack of affection, of gifts, and then words of love. So that would be actually a bit of sign for me, to actually to hold back, because usually things like this happen. I mean, for my case, when it happened to me, it was like this pressure to really get into a relationship very, very quickly. So that for me would be a red flag, because being in a relationship, getting to know each other is actually very, very important to build the foundation. And then, and also, it would be isolation as well. Being careful not to being isolated away from your loved ones, your friends, to support groups. Yeah. And then, the last one, I would say, the discussion about financial, because for my personal experience, the argument about money is actually part of the breakdown of my first marriage. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Carol, for sharing your thoughts. How about the other two panelists, Anne as well as Julie?
Okay, maybe I'll share mine. Okay, so I think your question was, what are some of the red flags in a marriage, right? But I would like to say that sometimes the red flag would have been raised way back during dating. And very often, if those red flags were not addressed during dating, and we are hoping that it would just vanish like magic, moving to marriage, then that is really a mistake. So that's something that I learned and I want to share. So, for example, during dating, I did go through marital counseling, pre-marriage counseling, which is good. But during premarital counseling, some issues could have been raised. And for example, I realized that my conflict resolution is on a very low scale. Partly, it could be because of my personality. I'm a type 9 on the Enneagram. I'm a peacemaker and a super high peacemaker. So when it comes to issues and conflicts, if the other party is very strong, I will back down immediately. So I could be very unhappy about certain issues, but I wouldn't know how to verbalize. And it would be worse if the person would just give me an angry stare or seem to look angry, and I'll just be reduced to like a 5-year-old. Seriously. And I'll be very afraid when the person say, oh, it doesn't seem that it's going to work. Let's break up. So that has been, stuck in my mind, that if I don't go along, then, we're going to break up. Or in the marriage, then he wants a divorce. So all these repressed feelings, actually, it's very, very unhealthy. And another red flag, even early on, would be whether I'm able to trust that person. And when I say trust, it's not just trusting that that person remain true to you. That is, of course, something I realize now that is non-negotiable, actually. But trusting him with my deepest feelings. Am I able to share with him comfortably? Now, your partner should be your best friend. Your partner should be the person that you can say everything to and still know that he would love you despite what happens. So communication, trust, I would dare say that they are almost non-negotiable and the foundation of any healthy relationships. And another red flag would be that your partner should be able and must respect your boundaries. And boundaries could be in many ways. Even, if you're feeling that the relationship is going too fast, you should respect that. You should respect your likes and dislikes. So these are just some of the red flags.
Okay,
Right. Yeah.
for me,
Thank you,
the red
Justine. So next we have Anne. Yeah.
Okay. For me, the red flag I think is I mean similar but different a little bit because it's come from my own experience. I feel red flag is come from when I realized that nobody married with a goal want to divorce. Like we all want to fix the marriage, right? And me too. I every time when I have a problem or I have fighting or I like misunderstand and everything, I would think of like, oh, how do we fix this? I go with the solve problem mindset more than like fight against each other, and that's also a red flag because I realize I cannot fix anything alone, but I'm stubborn and I ego to think like it's okay, I can fix this by myself. I'm a strong woman, I'm an independent woman, but it's wrong because I admit that I wrong to think that way. I need two hands to clap. I need two person to build a family, and I have to admit that it's nothing wrong to be we don't have a same mindset, the same belief system. We just have to work toward there. For example, I believe that my partner, my ex-partner, definitely he will have the same. We want happy marriage. But how to achieve happy marriage, the way of I want to achieve it, I may take a different action compared with the person. You know, it's nothing wrong and right. It's just the way of we are like wiring and the way of we take action is different, and it get conflict in that, and that's a red flag because over again and again when the lifestyle is different, the way of we growing up is different, it's bring to a lot more add on to the conflict, and that's red flag. It keep repeated, but then I deny that, I ignore that. I'm just telling myself it's fine, you know, every family have issue, I can fix that. And then yeah, one day I just have to admit that, you know what, it's okay to be failure, because if you fail and then you learn, it's better than you fail and you just there, right there. That is like you will never bounce back and will never wake up again one day. So yeah, that's my red flag that after so many of failure in communication, I decide that, you know what, I think I try my best. I do my best and it's not working.
All right. Now, I'm going to ask the next question to Beverly first. But before I move that, thank you, ladies, for giving us your insights to the first question. And we certainly want to hear more from you later on. Now, before I move on, can you hear what I'm saying now? Give me a thumbs up if you can. Great. Good. All right. Now, to all the audience out there who are in Women of Courage Facebook Live, Stories That Matter Facebook Live, Zoom session, and Walker YouTube channel, do feel free to type into the chat any lessons that you have learned from this conversation, and also type in any questions that come into your mind, and we address them later at the end of the session. Right, so I'm going to move to the next question, which I have, we're going to raise to Beverly. Now, Beverly, based on your clinical experience and what you have heard from our three ladies, now, what are the emotional and mental impact of red flags that women suffer from in failing relationships?
Yes, thank you, Suzanne. So I think the first thing that I hear from all the stories, it does sound that there are some symptoms of depression that, they have gone through, and even though it may not have been diagnosed then, but even feeling low in terms of the mood and also not having self-worth, these are things that we would take a look in terms of the red flag. Even like social withdrawal, not wanting to, have support from others, it can be common, and it's difficult to actually reach out for help. And also the role of a wife, if that is also, taken away, I think the sense of them not knowing what they are in the marriage. So these are some red flags that we can look out for. And I think when we tend to actually start blaming ourselves, when they are in the relationship, that's something to also, a red flag for even wives to even see if they can even get help, because sometimes I think it's not them that is also in the wrong, but also as a couple. So yeah, so these are red flags to look out for from a clinical perspective.
Thank you, Lillian. Oh, thank you, Beverly. I'm going to give the time to Lillian.
Okay. All right. I hope the echo is not going on. Okay, everyone can hear me loud and clear? Okay, great. Now, the next few questions, I'm going to direct it to all the panelists. So here's the first one. Now, what was the greatest impact on you when your relationship breaks down? What was the greatest impact on you when your relationship breaks down? Please feel to jump in.
Okay, well, I'll go first. And well, the greatest impact is the loss of my own identity. Because when my marriage broke down, I literally didn't know who I was anymore, and I didn't even knew how I'm gonna to proceed, because it's this whole sense of loss, not knowing how to live life, not knowing who I am, and not knowing which step to take. So that was the greatest impact for me.
How about
Okay, for myself, yeah. For myself, it was about 25 years of my life. So that is really more than half of my life. And thinking back, I was very dependent on him to do a lot of the major decisions in life. Yeah. Filing of income tax, even simple things like that. It was like, okay, somebody is gonna, look after it. And also during the course of the marriage, I've often been told that, I've made to feel that maybe I'm not good enough. Yeah, I've always messed things up. And, over years of all the emotional and my own thoughts, it really, it's like the world crashing. Like, what am I going to do now? And I was also told that you will never survive if you leave. You can't. You just can't rebuild. You don't have the know-how of how to do it. So I think that was the greatest impact. It was like the who am I now? Like Carol said. And of course, with 3 children, it's an added emotional worry and stress, and how the world will view me, how will my friends think of me, and my own personal guilt trip. Like, how come I couldn't make it work, even though I tried so hard? Yeah.
How about you, Anne? What is your the greatest impact?
I think the great thing impact me is my daughter. I was always growing up without a mom, right? So I never know how to be a mom. And now when I be a mom, the bigger fears for me is, am I ready to be a single mom? And outside there, when you talk about single mom, people, the first thing they will talk about is, single mom is bad and negative. And sometimes I feel it's women beat up each other so badly that even me myself, I doubt I'm going to be a mom, right? But then after that, when I see my daughter every day, how she been growing up beside me, supportive from me, give her so much love and courage. And I realize actually, you know what, doesn't matter what people say, right? The end of the day, at least I give her a mom better than she have nothing. Better than she have no father, no mother. Because come from a country like Vietnam, I see more kids have a more difficulty life than kid in Singapore. And I like, sometimes the worry bring myself down a lot more than just the reality, because reality is she still have a love from her mom. And impact for me every morning, wake up that, okay, I'm going to be a best version of myself, not only for myself, but for my daughter. Look at me as a role model that, you know what, if you're not healthy in the relationship, it's fine for you to walk away. I'm not supporting you to walk away, but I will be there next to you, beside you, and show you that it's okay to walk away, because at the end of the day, mommy love you, right? That's better than I'm staying in the unhealthy relationship and I damage my emotional and I showing her, okay, it's okay to stay with the person that no longer love you or you don't love the person anymore. That's even worse than I show her up like, okay, you walk out from a relationship, but you need to identity that you are Eva. You're not a mommy, daughter. You're not somebody else. Identity is you. It's you. You are Eva. That's it. Yeah. So that's the bigger impact for me to learn when I walk out from my relationship.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. I think I hear a lot of the 3 of you echo about identity. Now, the next question I have for you, ladies, is how did you give yourself space to recover from that impact, that emotional pain? How did you do that? What did you do? Who wants to go first?
Okay, I don't mind to go first.
All right.
I think after I say this, I will let some people hate me, but I love the COVID period because that has really give me a good opportunity to reborn with my daughter again. I've been busy to work on myself, on my self-development, my knowledge to invest, to make money and so on. And I like have a period of a years really busy that I have no time with my daughter. And then by COVID, it gave me a time to reflect a lot. Like morning we will exercise together, spend time together. And then when she go nap or we read book together. And then I reflect a lot about myself. Like, wow, this how amazing for you to be grateful to be appreciate some very simple thing in life, like just eat a meal with a loved one, just listen to the music, dancing in the house, sing song together. And sometimes I feel I'm so busy to make my life better, but I forget that my life already good right now, right? It's good that I'm still in the middle of COVID, when you hear a lot of negative news outside that people pass away without see their loved one, or they like separate from different part of the world, and I have an opportunity and a privilege of sit down next to my daughter, hug her, sleep with her. What I'm wishing for more, right? Yeah. So that's the best period of myself for now, and even now I'm still appreciate that few months a lot, because it's helped me to recover from heartbroken and self-doubt, to appreciate and grateful for every morning I wake up and I'm still alive.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I mean, I saw on your Facebook and Instagram post a lot of beautiful picture with your daughter, right? How about Jocelyn?
Okay, so for myself, I think on a stress level, death followed by divorce is one of the highest rating in terms of the emotional pain and stress that results from it. So I would say that it's a very high on the heartache. But having said that, I think it was important for me to take time to regroup, to reflect, to give myself and allow myself time to heal. Sometimes we might go into a period. I think the first step is just to admit to ourselves that, okay, the relationship has broken down. So what am I going to do about it? And not get into some of us might just direct all our attention into work or into other relationships. I think for myself that wasn't what I thought was helpful. I in fact took time to ask myself what went wrong. Was there any part that I could have improved? Thankfully I had my anchor in God that saw me through, and during this period I also surrounded myself with friends who were there to listen to me, and also to get in touch with mentors and coaches. I think that's very important, because the rebuilding process takes time, and sometimes we don't know how to go about it, but there are people who have gone before us and they can give us advice. So likewise, that's the reason why after spending a year or so going for courses, improving myself, I am now on a mission of paying it forward. And that's why I'm writing my book, which is kind of based on the experience of relationships. And I wish to share some advice to young women out there, or even women who are in marriages, how to improve your relationships. So yeah, that's for me.
Wow, that's wonderful. Yeah, thanks for all that nuggets of wisdom over there. And I look forward to your upcoming book.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Carol, what is how about yourself? How did you give yourself space to recover from that impact and that emotional pain?
To be very frank, when I think about it right now, thinking back, I was scaringly calm. I have no idea why at that time, and I'll share with you a little bit later why. So immediately, because I guess like survival mode came kicking in, so I decided to really focus fully 100% on my job, because that was the only thing that I have. That was my lifeline, because I was left penniless. I needed to survive financially, so I couldn't afford to lose my job. I was also ridden with debt as well. That was actually left, by due to the breakup of the marriage. So I really focused 100% in work. That I totally isolated myself even further from my friends and my family. I didn't immediately go back to them because of shame, and was also a lot of anger that I was feeling as well. It was actually, to be very frank, I have to really thank this very, very good friend of mine. She wasn't that close with me then, but she actually dragged me out of it and said, look, you can't hold yourself up anymore, because I literally was actually cocoon, try to shell myself and keep myself away from all the attention. And I didn't want to face the "I told you so" kind of conversations as well. A lot of self-blame, as what Jocelyn said, whatever you said earlier, 100% resonate with me, and that was the whole process I went through as well. And then eventually, being literally, being dragged to see a counselor just to get my emotions in check, because I think my friend could see that I was really on a downward spiral myself. And then after that, she introduced me to a coach, and then that was actually how I beginning to try to open up, and also reaching out as well, reaching out to the friends that have been cut off. And I felt a lot of shame, but it was a learning process trying to get out of it. And also I was being in this very stubborn mode that I wanted to prove something. I wanted to prove that to my ex-husband at that time, that without him I can survive. I would not be I would not be actually all the way down to the drain, because like Jocelyn had mentioned, I was told that I was stupid, that I was good for nothing, and without the other person, then I wouldn't be able to survive in this world. And then I felt that I had something to prove, so that was this fighting spirit that actually kept me going. But whether it intentionally seeking help, I wasn't, but I was glad to have that support. And I feel that having that emotional support, reaching out for support, is very, very important for being a first step to get out of the emotional pain.
Yeah, I totally agree with you about reaching out for support. Thank you for sharing that as well. So we're moving on to the next question. Now, what was that one motivation that drove you to say enough is enough? I want to stop feeling trapped in my past and then move on to create a new future for yourself. You want to start from Jocelyn?
I think for myself, it wasn't an event that happened that made me decide, okay, I'm going to walk out. It really wasn't like that. There were major events that happened over the years of the marriage, but like I've shared before, I tried to, maybe it was a denial mode, or maybe now in reflection, it's because of my fear. Like, I can't, I still have to stay in this because of the fear that I can't survive. So I think what made me finally walk out was when I realized that, I've tried so many things, I've given it so many chances, but it seemed to be just getting worse. And also the emotional impact on me, and I don't think is healthy for the children, because they are older now, they are able to see things. They are not toddlers, they were in their late teens already. And also a wake-up call when my son actually asked me out of the blue one day when he was at Sec 3, "Are you happy, mommy?" And that question made me reflect. And he said, "I've got your back covered, mommy. Just promise me you will not grow crazy, or you will not ever commit suicide." And that innocent question just, I don't know, it just broke me and made me think hard. I think that was the moment that, for me.
Wow, that's very heartwarming. Okay, Anne, you want to go next?
Yeah, I think Jocelyn just bring up one thing that is very wonderful that I experienced the same. That's my daughter. I think that the decision I make at that point when the event happened, but of course it's a lot of event happened before that, but it's hard for me to make a decision because I keep thinking of my daughter, like how she will be when she don't have a father beside her. And then in that period of more than a week, my ex-husband flew away with his loved one, right? And then I will be in the room with Ava for a week, and we just eating and sleep and wake up and spend mother and daughter time. But when my daughter sleep, I couldn't sleep. Like I will go to a mood of thinking, worry, and fear, and a lot of things. And suddenly, in out of nowhere, for the first time, my daughter take the tissue box. She just dragged the tissue box next to me, and she just say, "Mommy, don't cry." Um, Even now talk about that, I'm feel very emotional because I think kids is amazing. They know everything. they feel everything, but it just they will be the one who deliver to you the message that the red flag is over. Are you making a decision right now? And that's point I was just saying, look, this human here, right here, love me more than anybody outside there in the world, right? And I'm being busy to worry, to think something that not even here, right now, right here, be present next to me. And then I shift all my focus from a heartbroken to breakdown to feel so much pain to focus in love. I'm starting of how do I make the love that I want to give to her, to give to the world in the right way from the positive she give to me. She just tell me that's the right thing. Mommy, don't say I love you. That's enough, like, and be a mom. I think that's the best thing happen that your kid can come to you, can feel the pain, and can show you the love. And that's when I make a decision to walk away.
Wow, thank you, Anne, for sharing that. Yeah. Okay, lastly, Carol, yes, what was that one motivation that drove you to say enough is enough?
Wow. To be absolutely frank, during the course of the marriage, I have toyed many times during fights and disagreement that I was ready to throw in the towel. But then, I stuck on to my faith, or rather my vow, my vow to him that in sickness and in health. And I was blinded by that. Due to stubbornness, I have no idea, I have no words to actually describe back then. And unfortunately, I didn't walk away. If you want to put it bluntly, I was, he left me. I was somehow discarded like an old toy. And what really kept me going, to be frank, was my faith. Through that whole experience, that I contemplated suicide, that I wanted to die and couldn't do it. I heard a voice, and that voice in my head said, your time isn't up yet. And because of that, I trusted that voice and was looking for purpose. And that was this blind faith, that I do have a purpose, and my time wasn't there yet. And that was also the time that I rediscovered and reconnected to God. And that actually helped me and helped me to go through. And that was the motivation for me to keep going, taking a step at a time and keep moving.
Okay, thank you so much, Carol. Thank you so much for sharing, and all three of you for sharing your thoughts. Now, I believe we have some questions for Beverly.
Yes. Okay, let me just off my speaker. My speaker is off. Okay, sorry for the interruption on the noise. Right, can everyone hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can. Good. All right. So now, just now you've heard the three ladies sharing with them how they have moved on triumphantly from the emotional breakdown to recover to embracing a new future for themselves with all the support that they have received. Now, we're going to ask our expert here, Beverly, one question. Now, Beverly, from a psychological perspective, for a woman who is experiencing an emotional breakdown, how can she change her mindset to stop herself from getting hurt?
Yeah, so I think from what I hear of the stories, before we can even start change, it's important to be able to accept. And acceptance actually makes a very big part of change. And so based on what I hear, for them to be able to move on and to come to terms even with their own situation, and that is also part of recovery, of healing. And also based on what I hear from Anne's story about the value of being a mother to her daughter, that is important, because knowing our values is something that helps us drive towards where we want to be, even though we have negative thoughts and feelings. So instead of acting on those thoughts and feelings, we choose to act on our values. And the last one about Carol's story as well, about her friend bringing her to get help. I think social support is very important as well, in being able to stop ourselves from getting hurt further. And I think, it is very precious to have someone to look out for you and to even see that you need help, and for Carol to even want that help eventually.
Right. Okay. So the next question is a question that I've always wanted to ask you for a long time, Beverly. Now, how do you think telling a story about one's struggle and eventual triumph actually help to heal our mind, our soul, and prepare us to truly move forward in the future?
So, like what I mentioned earlier, like I think the idea of telling stories um, talks about being able to come to terms with the situation, being able to accept what is happening, even though it is very difficult. And sharing stories actually expose you to even talking about the things that we naturally do not want to talk about. There's a lot of shame, like what Carol mentioned as well earlier, and the act of actually sharing a story exposes you to that sense of shame, but at the same time, it allows you to recover and also be able to bear with that shame and then be able to move on after that. So a lot of times we try to avoid, but avoiding doesn't do much good in the long run because it does come back. And the last thing also, sharing stories is also empowering. It is also a form of like narrative therapy, which is quite common. And this sharing of stories actually allows us to rewrite our life in a way that we would want to live better.
All right. Thank you, Beverly, for your wonderful insights on this.
Okay, thank you very much, Beverly. Next, we are going back to the panelists for the last few questions. Now, for those of you who have children when you end the marriage, what are the kind of challenges you face? How do you manage to help you and your child or children adjust to this change?
Okay, I think this question would it depends also on how old the children are in the marriage. So for myself, being in a relationship, although I think they quite know that it's obviously not normal, as in daddy and mommy are obviously not on the best of terms, but they have grown up never hearing us fight or quarrel, which on retrospect now I feel is not exactly the most healthy thing, right? Because I've never argued or brought up any issues in the 25 years, as in have an argument, because I always feel that I can't win it. So yeah, and just so not to rock the boat, I didn't. But children can feel the vibes. But because they were already in their teens, they were able to, and they know some of the issues that were existing and what happened. I felt that, for them, it was more of me talking to them as friends and then asking them, do you need help? I did ask my two older ones who were about 19 and 17 at the time, do you need to see a counselor, or if you need to talk to somebody, please let me know. But I do have a younger 10-year-old, and for the 10-year-old, he might not be able to understand fully what happened. And so for him, it's just reassuring him that, the love that his dad has for him and my love for him is the same. Yeah, so that doesn't change. It's just that the physical arrangement of where we are staying and all that would change. And so we have to help him ease into that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Justine. How about you, Anne? You can share your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, for my experience, because my daughter is only 3, turning to 4, like she's so young, and I think I have to thanks for my experience of growing up in a divorced family. It's give me a lot of vision of how is that my kids feel at that age because my parent divorce went through. So I roughly know at that age how exactly she feel. And yeah, a lot of changing because kid ask a lot of questions. Why mommy? Why this? Why that? Right? And early on, I already know very clearly that I will never lie to her. I will never hide from her, and I will never, try to cover up the story or make something that untrue to my daughter. But when and how to share that to her with the age of 4, that's a challenge. And then one day I just decide, you know what, I'm just talk to her like an adult. And I normalize everything every day and give her a knowledge of, you know what, you are a normal kid. Sometimes I think even my parents didn't treat me as normal because I've been beating myself up for the 18 years of my life when I was a teenager that my parent divorce is because of my fault. My fault that my father and mother not together anymore until I be adult and I understand, oh, okay, adult relationship have nothing to do with me, right? And that take me a long experience to go through that painful to understand. So when I explain to her, I teach her, you know what? Even a gay couple who have a kid is normal. Even a single mother is normal. A single father is normal. And even a parent who have mother and father is also normal. Everybody is normal. Everybody is equal. And you need to remember that you are normal kid. Your parents just divorced, that's it. And because I'm every day make her feel like she is just a normal kid, she go to school, she's normal as well. So when she come back, sometimes of course she feels sad of like meet the dad weekend and then come back home. But then I will tell her, you know what? Sad is the appreciate of a happiness. Now you more appreciate the next round you see your dad, right? And then she will happy again. I think it's important that I working on myself of how I'm thinking and then I deliver that to a kid and then that's work for me. I mean, that's my own experience. It may help for some mom outside there struggling because sometimes we feel like be a mom who have to cover up the pain and we don't want the kid to be pain. But pain actually sometimes is a gift for them because after the pain, they feel appreciate every moment they spend with either father or mother. And I'm very happy right now with that decision where I try to teach her that way.
Thank you. Thank you both for sharing. Now, the next question is to Beverly. So, Beverly, to women who are in a failing marriage and they have children, what are the emotional and mental impacts on the children, and what are the mothers can do to help their children adjust to the new reality?
Yes, thanks, Lillian. I think it's important to know that children are resilient themselves, like what some of the speakers have shared earlier. And not all the time, we have to be very anxious to think that, we need to help our children, they're not going to be taking this very well, but knowing that they are resilient. And also, I think divorce is also, or even, a failed marriage is also a process of like a loss. And just like grief, it is a process in terms of it takes time and it's something for the children and the mothers to be able to go through that together. And it is a normal part of healing. Also, I think being able to ensure that there is minimal triangulation in a sense where not having the child take sides. So it is important as the child still sees maybe one of the parent, and to ensure that they are not caught in the emotional fire between both parents. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Beverly. I think, Suzanne, you have one more questions for Beverly, right?
All right. So Beverly, I think it's from what we have heard from our three ladies. It is certainly true that seeking the right support is key to help women cope with the challenges, the struggles in relationships. So, what kind of support women who are in the situation of failing relationship be looking for to pick up their pieces and to move on to the new direction in life?
Yeah, so I think for me, just quickly to share also, I am a child of two parents who also went through divorce, and they both remarried separately as well. And this happened when I was in primary school. So I do share from my own personal experience. Getting support emotionally was very important for myself and for my mom. I was taken care of by my grandfather, who would pick me up from school. Um, and also my tutors were very important. Sometimes in Singapore, we have a lot of tutors. They do play a very important role, because one of my tutors did show a lot of care and concern just for my well-being in general, nothing about the family situation. And that caused me to be able to even be where I am today. And also for my mom, I think having supportive colleagues and friends and even religion, having faith as well, and being able to draw from these resources, it is very crucial. And even that's how I think in our current sharing of stories, this is also a form of support that I see the speakers getting from one another.
And see whether there are any questions. And once again, if you do have any questions you have in mind based on what you have heard previously, do feel free to type into the chat group. If you are in Zoom, type into the Zoom chat. If you are in Facebook Live for Women of Courage Asia and stories that matter, Facebook, type into the comments page. Right. Let me go to the question.
Okay. I think over at our YouTube, we do have some questions as well. This is William Gilchrist, if I pronounce your name correctly. Right. You mentioned earlier that your partner needs to be your best friend. How does that develop from being with a person on a relationship angle? In a relationship angle, often people present themselves differently at the start. I know this question is supposed to be directing at which panelist. Your partner needs to be your best friend. I think it was Jocelyn, right?
Yes. Okay. When I say that in a marriage, ideally, your partner should be your best friend, because best friend is somebody in normal context, we share our deepest secrets with our best friends, right? Meaning you are able to be so comfortable with each other that you trust that person to be able to take what you are processing and then to walk it through with you. That's not to say that your husband or wife is your only best friend. Okay, you can have best friends of your own gender as well, because guys and girls think differently. But when I use the term best friend, I mean because with best friend we are able to be our true self. But I think that question also says that wouldn't it make more sense to be friends first and have a relationship? Yeah, I think that would be the ideal. That's when, as friends, we developed it. Because once you start having, like Carol said, being love bombed and things like that, or the sexual part comes in too early and all that, then it might cause the relationship to move to a different angle. Yeah. So I think that was what I meant by best friend. And oh yes, William, I think you mentioned that, isn't it true that most of us put on a good front when we first meet, right? Yeah. So for me personally, right, I always believe that what you see is what you get. Actually, that is the best, because otherwise it will come to a stage where that's why people say, oh, when the honeymoon period ends, and then you're in for a shock. Then your Prince Charming becomes Prince Alarming. In the first place, if we both go in being ourselves, that's the best. Then there wouldn't be any major things that you would have to discover later on, right? Yeah.
Okay, Suzanne, do you have any questions from the Zoom chat side?
Alright, at this point of time, we are still waiting for let me see, I think unmuted. Muted in this case.
You're good. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, at this point of time, we are still waiting for questions to come into Zoom and Facebook Live, but I do have a question for Beverly, addressed to Beverly, right? So Beverly, now if let's say we know a friend or relative who is on a Cold War relationship with her husband, what can we do to help her save her marriage on the path?
Okay, I didn't prepare for this. So I think when there's Cold War, based on psychology, there is a theory on Gottman where they talk about Cold War. It's actually one form of the different, I think should be like the four horses, when you tend to realize that the marriage is actually not doing too well. So I think stonewalling, it's similar to that, a bit like Cold War. Definitely, I would think that if they are unable to work it out themselves, to be able to get a neutral party, it doesn't need to be a professional yet, someone like a friend, or even family. But if let's say they are unable to find one, then actually seeking professional help to go through couples therapy would also be beneficial. So that's my input for this question.
Okay, thank you, Beverly.
Yeah. Thank you, Beverly. I think we have another question for Beverly, and that is, how can you help a child affected by divorce? Example, if they start cutting themselves or misbehaving. Yeah.
So it does sound like the child is emotionally being affected, because cutting, misbehaving could most possibly be signs of emotional dysregulation. Of course, it's a way of coping. So it is natural that during such divorce situations, it is difficult for the child to adjust. So, but if they are unable to even take care of themselves by harming themselves, then it's important to actually for the parents to see if they are able to talk to the child, and even help them by teaching certain skills on how to manage their emotions, how to calm themselves down. I do know of a free phone app that parents can actually use for their children to learn strategies to calm their children down and help their child to learn how to self-soothe. So we will share that if it's needed.
Okay, thank you, Beverly. And also to address to our audience, our Facebook page, either from Women of Courage Facebook page or community group at Story That Matter and YouTube Live, you can actually also PM us, private message, right? If you feel more comfortable that way. So we have a support team behind the scene to address to your questions. Okay, so Suzanne, what's the next question that we have, either for the panelist or Beverly?
this is a question.
Actually, this is a question that I would really like to raise to all of you, Beverly and three ladies here. Now, who is the biggest culprit in a relationship breakdown? Is it the womanizing or domineering husband? Or is it the wife for failing to take a stand and save her peace of mind? One of you may like to take a stand first.
Okay.
I think I would actually like to probably reframe that question more towards like, what is, yeah, just now you mentioned, what is the culprit of the relationship, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I would prefer to reframe it to, uh, who, because it takes two to clap. It takes two to tango. So yeah, what are your views about, for this such relationship to happen this way? Yeah, rather than because the time you mentioned about the womanizing and all that. I believe it happens for both gender. Yeah. So probably you want to reframe that question again, Suzanne?
Okay, let me just reframe my question. Okay, when a relationship breaks down, okay, how far can we go? Let's say we are in a situation where we go through a relationship breakdown. How far can we go to blame ourselves to say, okay, I am responsible for this breakdown?
I think I will go
How far
with
can
it.
we go to tell ourselves this is not healthy? Or rather, let me just put it this way. Okay, if I'm in a situation where the other party, which is the husband or boyfriend, says that no, you are to be blamed for everything because you are not good enough. Okay, but how do I tell myself that this is really what I am, or how do I actually put a point to stop myself to say that I should be standing up for myself and saying that enough is enough. I should start to gather my willpower to speak for what I believe in rather than allowing myself to be put down further and further.
I think I'm very interested in Suzanne's this question because it is a very sensitive question where the blaming can't help jumping to blaming when relationship fails, right? So different thoughts come from mind. So what are your thoughts about when a relationship fails? Does blaming start surfacing in you? Do you have that thoughts of blaming? Can you share a little bit whether you don't have thoughts of blaming when the relationship fails?
Yeah, I will go first. I
Yes.
think it's nature of a human being that the first thing when things happen, even like a kid sick, the mother will blame like, oh, I must do something wrong. That's why my children sick. That's the nature thing. So it's the same thing in relationship. I find that yes, I blame myself as the moment I find out that the marriage have problem. Oh, I must be bad wife. I must be a bad mother. I must be a bad daughter-in-law. Or I must do something wrong. That's why my marriage come to certain way. But if you really did the research on Google, you will realize that the number of people divorced is even higher than the people who survive in the marriage. That's the reality. Sometimes we deny because we buy into the idea of like theory, like movie or some romantic. But what exactly is romantic? What exactly is love? What exactly is identity of you? Who are you in the relationship? I think blaming is nothing wrong to blame yourself, but then from blaming to accept who you are, and then to understand that we both individual in relationship, but we just joy to be a couple. We choose to be together, not we force to be together, and that's the hard part to accept it. That if that person think that way, he not wrong either. If she think this way, she not wrong either, right? But like some people even think like, oh, I have to spend enough time to this person to understand what is a married work. I have a close friend who he stayed with his ex-wife for 7 years. They married for 6 months and they divorced. How do we explain that? And I have some friends who like know each other for 8 months, 1 year, and married and divorced after 10 years. We never know what our life is supposed to be. We just have to be right now. After blaming, how do we work thing out for ourselves, for myself? I will sit down and look at the blaming and like, look, yes, I made mistake. I failure in my marriage. How do we work things out for give a kid a better future? And if you marry and you don't have kids now, how do we work things out together with both parent side, like my parent and his parent? And we have more than just a relationship between two of us. And the love individually, I think more important that I have to be healthy. I have to be happy before I want this person make me happy or like healthy, right? Yeah. So the blaming,
Right.
yes, I think it's natural. It's just normal.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much, Anne, for giving us your insights about this issue of blaming, when relationship fails. Now, I'm very curious because both you yourself and Carol, you came from, you have spouse or you yourself came from different culture, right? So do differences in cultural value play a part in causing a strain in the relationship of a couple coming from different cultural background? Yeah, so I think probably I want to address to Anne first because this is relating to your past relationship.
Yes. Okay, I would love to share. By the way, if you realize that my English is like almost like Singaporean, the reason is Singapore is the first country I learn English and I speak English, right? So I don't believe in culture, religion, or race, or you look different, I look different. I believe in we only have one race, which is called human. Human is mean what? We just different in the mindset and belief system. We have nothing wrong to upbringing because my parent can be don't taking care of me, but if I have a high awareness and I believe that I'm just lucky that I have a strong and high awareness of like, okay, I failed, so how do I fix this, right? But it's not everybody outside there have that awareness. And I just share with you like a short sentence this morning. My helper tell me before I go to this live, she just tell me, ma'am, go for it. And I'm like, well, shocked. I'm like, wow, like for 3 years she with me, she never say this. She say, I learned so much from you to be beside you for the last 1 year of you go through divorce. And I was like touching for that sentence. Why? Because I realized something I take for granted that I like, wow, I'm so strong. I just take things too simple. But then I help her so much for her to like realize, oh, now I feel how I handle things or handle thought in my mind is more positive. And that is just my helper. I treat her like a sister in the house, by the way, to see that it's yeah. So I feel like culture, religion, all this doesn't matter because if you love the person enough, you will learn the language. You love the
Right.
person enough because me and my ex, we use Google Translate, starting. So food
Right.
is I eat Singaporean food now. So everything it can learn, everything can be
Right.
but the only thing that we can't adopt and we can't learn that if two person don't want to grow the same direction, both person don't want to learn the same thing, or both person don't have the same goal of achievement. That's it. Like for example, if you're so positive, but your spouse will be always worried, everything worried. That would be already a conflict, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's about mindset.
Thank you so much, Anne. Now, just a quick word from Carol. I know currently, you are you have a new relationship, a very happy family, and your spouse is of a different culture. Now, how do you actually maintain or work? That does this different culture cause any strain in relationship? If you don't
Uh,
mind sharing your
yeah,
thoughts.
well, I wouldn't say strain, but there's actually a lot of effort that has to go into that. I mean, first of all, my husband's first language is German, so he has to use English to communicate. So that was actually a bit of difficulty, but we made it a point to clarify and make it a point to agree to disagree. I think that's actually very, very important. I mean, the lesson that I've learned from my first marriage was not voicing out if I'm not if I'm happy, or actually or to clarify. So that actually that was a lesson learned, and I actually brought it into my current marriage, and to ensure that I do a lot of clarification as well. Communication is the key. Cultural wise, I don't see much difference as Anne has mentioned earlier, because both my husband and I have a certain mindset, in terms of like upbringing, in terms of how we want to raise our kids and all. So we are actually very much aligned in that. Of course, it's like his the way that he's being raised, his culture and Asian culture is a little bit different. In Asian culture, we do hit our kids, and then for him, they think that it's some kind of borderline abuse. So there's a lot of understanding as well that we have to have an adjustment we have to make. But at the end of the day, I believe it's about wanting to learn, and both of us take responsibility to want to make this marriage work. So we put in extra effort to really make it work.
Okay, yeah, I think thank you all for all the sharing. You have one last question? Okay.
All
Sure.
right. This is a question that we have gotten from the audience in Zoom. So her question is, if I want to move on in the current relationship, how do I break the news to my children about a new life partner or spouse for them to accept as their parents, such that they do not feel stressed or troubled?
That's actually a very good question. I think the reality that most people don't talk about this, so that's why I give this question is very good. I will share my simple thought first. I think this is how I teach my daughter, because I think one day you never know, you fall in love again and you will have someone else. I feel it's important to give her the mindset of, you are going to have more father than one. How about that? Like, people adopt kids nowadays and they even have, what is that, godmother or something. Like, why don't you impress them to be like, two men teach you will be better than one, right? To protect you, or like to have a different view of what's the difference. It's same like you have father and then you have grandfather and then you have uncle and so on in your life. So I feel it's important that change my belief system of what exactly a new person come to a life. If I live with fear, if I stop myself from do certain thing, or like stop myself to live my life because of I fear that she will feel the fear. So that's why I will tell her the truth, and then after that I will let her to be friend with the person first until they can be friend, good friend. They will natural love. Kid is smart. They will love and they will choose who they want to love. And I don't want to push them. I will want to give them time and space to learn a new person, and then accept it by themselves, not from me.
Right. Thank you so much. And now I think that's a lot of questions, and we do have questions that come in separately, but we will answer them in our Facebook page as well as YouTube channel. And Suzanne will answer those questions that you have in the Zoom chat. And we will post it at the Stories That Matter Facebook group as well. So keep those questions coming. All right, don't stop your questions. Now, before we go for the wrap up, let's hear from all our panelists. Now, what are your reflections from this sharing experience? What have you learned from each other, or the experience that was of the sharing, and probably one final motivating advice for our audience, right? Who wants to go first?
Okay,
Okay,
I'll go
I'll
first.
go. Carol, you go
Jocelyn.
first. Carol, you go first.
Okay, thank you. I think the greatest takeaway for this session is learning to, we have to take responsibility for our own life. Yeah, and then hearing the stories shared, with Anne and Jocelyn, we do have very similar experience, but then, we took charge, right? And I think this is actually what all of us women we need to do, because a lot of the times I feel that we women try to actually give our power away to someone else to make a decision for us. So we need to actually really take charge, because there's no one who is going to manage our life other than ourselves. We will definitely be able to manage it the best.
True.
Thank you, Carol. Right, Jocelyn. Yeah.
Okay, I think after hearing from all you ladies, right, I realized that I'm not alone. Yeah, because very often when we are walking through that very difficult dark valley, we think that we are alone. But we realize that in opening up, we actually have a lot of people who can support us and going through the same thing, right? And like Carol said, happiness, we hold the happiness in our hands. And even if people don't respect me, or if people don't love me the way I hope to be loved or respected, it is up to myself to at least love and respect myself. And just to leave you with a quote by C.S. Lewis, we cannot go back to change the beginning, but we can start right here and change the ending. So yeah, thank you for sharing with me your stories. I've learned a lot. Yeah.
Thank you. And then after that, we will want to hear from Beverly as well. And you go first.
For me, first I have to say thanks for all the community that I've been having for the last many years of my journey of self-development. My mentor who coached me and teach me to be like awareness in my finance, my emotional, my self breakthrough, and my development growing. And even Lillian, she gave me a lot of opportunity to show who I am and what I can help other women back. Next thing that I think what I want to give for all the women outside there, that pain is just temporary and it's never lasts if you make a choice and a decision to move on, focus on something else that more positive. Everybody talk about love yourself, but how exactly love yourself is only you figured out by yourself, and no one else outside there can telling you how you should love yourself, how you should give love to yourself. That is your choice, and you have to make that decision for yourself first, right? Yeah. So that is what I want to give to people, that if it's not about like I can do it, you can do it. I don't believe in that quote. I believe that it's okay to take help. I'm thankful that I have my brother, sister, not the same mother. You know who you are if you're watching this, right? And I'm saying thankful to all the community, all the good, my support, my friend, my close friend, everybody who've been there with me for the last journey of my divorce. I will never be where I am today without all of you. So yeah, that's what I want to say. It's okay to ask for help. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. And we want to hear from Beverly as well. Yeah.
Okay, just a quick one. Just want to share that from all the stories, I've learned that having problems doesn't mean that it is definitely a mental health issue, and that doesn't mean that if you have a mental health issue means that you also can't seek help. So I think I would just like to share with everybody that there's no stigma, in a sense that being able to actually share your story is actually a recovery and healing as well.
Okay, thank you so much, ladies, for your final thoughts. And like I always like to say, you heard me again and again, we do not learn from our experiences, but we learn from reflecting from our experiences. Yes, a failed relationship is not the end of life, right? It is just the beginning of a new chapter. And I want to encourage everyone as well that when you awaken the courage of a woman to share their stories, you are also inspiring other women to do the same. So I also want to leave you with a quote. When you awaken the courage of a woman, you ignite her power of influence. Okay, Suzanne, yeah, I'll leave it to you to end the wrap up.
Okay, let me just unmute myself. All right, so we've come to the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen, and once again, we want to sincerely thank all the women, Carol, Anne, and Jocelyn and Beverly, for sharing with us your wonderful insights or experience on relationship issues that have been so rarely discussed in the public. And I hope that for those of you in the audience, you got to hear so much and learn so much from our conversations today. So what's going to happen next month on the 18th of November? We're going to have 3 Wonder Women, Lynette Ha, Wendy Teo, and Mr. Chong, coming forward to share on how they manage to juggle between their work projects and clients with their kids in order to achieve quality work-life balance. So stay tuned for our next show happening on the 18th of November, same time at 12 p.m. Till then, thank you once again for joining us today and have a great week ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you, and see you again soon. Bye.